Good evening. Tonight we're looking at a subject that touches nearly every American household: the potential for significant price increases on everyday goods. This isn't some abstract economic theory, it's about the real-world consequences of President Donald Trump's proposed tariffs. We're talking about a broad 10% baseline tariff on most imports, a policy that by its very nature would make foreign goods more expensive. But it doesn't stop there. For products coming from China, a major manufacturing hub for countless items we use daily, the proposed tariff jumps to a staggering 30%, and in some cases even higher. These aren't just numbers on a page, they represent a potential shift in the cost of living. The ripple effects of such policies are already beginning to surface, with numerous retailers, the very businesses that stock the shelves you browse, sounding the alarm. They're warning that they may have no choice but to pass these increased costs directly onto you, the consumer. From the clothes you wear to the electronics you rely on, and even the food you put on your table, the impact could be widespread. It's a complex issue, with arguments for protecting American industries on one side, and concerns about the burden on American families on the other. Our goal here tonight is to break down what these tariffs could mean in practical terms. We'll examine which companies are already signaling price hikes and what specific product categories might see the most significant changes. This isn't about partisan politics, it's about understanding the economic forces at play and how they might directly impact your finances. We believe it's crucial for you to have this information, to see beyond the headlines and understand the potential everyday consequences. We'll be looking at specific examples, hearing from industry leaders, and trying to get a clearer picture of what lies ahead. When a retail giant like Walmart speaks, the entire consumer landscape tends to listen. And what they're saying now about the potential impact of these tariffs is significant. Walmart has publicly stated that high tariffs, especially on goods manufactured in China, will almost inevitably lead to price increases for their customers. This isn't a vague possibility. It's a direct assessment from one of the largest retailers in the world, a company that prides itself on offering low prices. The sheer volume of products Walmart imports from China means that a 30% tariff, or more, cannot simply be absorbed without consequence. CEO Douglas McMillon and CFO John David Rainey have both been quite candid about this. They've explained that while Walmart will always strive to mitigate costs and find efficiencies, tariffs of this magnitude present a formidable challenge. They're essentially preparing their customers for a new reality, where the price of many everyday items, from electronics to apparel to home goods, could see a noticeable jump. This isn't just about Walmart's bottom line, it's about the pressure such tariffs place on the entire supply chain, a pressure that ultimately gets transferred to the checkout counter. The implications are far-reaching, potentially affecting millions of American families who rely on retailers like Walmart for affordable goods. It's not just everyday essentials. Even the world of toys, a source of joy for children, isn't immune to these economic pressures. Mattel, the company behind iconic brands like Barbie and Hot Wheels, has indicated that it too will likely have to raise prices if these significant tariffs are implemented. Many of their products, like those of their competitors, are manufactured in China, making them prime targets for the proposed import duties. Mattel's CEO, Ynon Kreiz, has been a vocal advocate against these measures, arguing for a global environment of zero tariffs on toys and games, believing it benefits consumers and the industry alike. The situation became even more stark when President Trump specifically threatened a potential 100% tariff on Mattel's toys. Imagine for a moment the cost of a toy doubling almost overnight. This isn't just a business concern for Mattel, it's a concern for parents and gift givers who would bear the brunt of such a dramatic price increase. Kreiz's position highlights the dilemma faced by many international companies: how to navigate these trade disputes while trying to keep products affordable for their customers. The toy industry, often seen as recession-resistant, now faces a man-made challenge that could significantly alter its pricing structure and accessibility. For many of us, consumer electronics are no longer luxuries but necessities, deeply integrated into our daily lives. Best Buy, a major retailer for everything from televisions to smartphones to gaming consoles, has issued a clear warning. If vendors, the companies that actually make these electronics, face higher costs due to tariffs, those costs will likely be passed on to retailers like Best Buy. And, in turn, Best Buy anticipates having to pass those increased costs on to you, the consumer. It's a chain reaction, and the end result is a higher price tag on the gadgets we rely on. This concern is echoed by some of the biggest names in the electronics industry. Companies like Nintendo and Sony, creators of popular gaming consoles and a wide array of other electronics, have also expressed worries about how tariffs could impact their pricing and, consequently, their sales. Many of these sophisticated devices are assembled in China or rely heavily on components sourced from there. A 30% tariff on such goods could mean a significant increase in the cost of your next gaming system, television, or laptop. Best Buy's warning serves as a stark reminder that these trade policies have very tangible consequences for the tech-savvy consumer. The world of fast fashion, known for its incredibly low prices and rapid turnover of trends, is also feeling the squeeze. Online retailers Shein and Temu, which have gained immense popularity for their affordable clothing and household items, have reportedly already begun raising prices. This development comes in the wake of increased scrutiny and the potential removal of the de minimis exemption for some of their shipments. This exemption historically allowed small-value shipments, often direct-to-consumer from China, to enter the United States tariff-free. If this loophole closes, the cost of doing business for these companies rises significantly. We're starting to see concrete examples of these price adjustments. For instance, a dress on Shein that might have cost $10 could now be listed at $12 or $13. Similarly, small gadgets or home accessories on Temu that were priced under $5 might now creep closer to $7 or $8. While these individual increases might seem small, they add up, especially for consumers who rely on these platforms for budget-friendly shopping. The business models of Shein and Temu are built on high volume and low margins, making them particularly sensitive to changes in import costs. The era of ultra-cheap goods from these platforms might be facing a significant challenge due to these tariff policies. The impact of tariffs isn't limited to items you can carry out of a store. It extends to some of the biggest purchases consumers make, including automobiles. Ford, an iconic American automaker, has stated that it expects to raise car prices by an average of 1.5% if these tariffs are broadly implemented. While 1.5% might not sound like a huge number on its own, on a vehicle costing tens of thousands of dollars, it translates to a noticeable increase of several hundred or even thousands of dollars. Ford, like other global automakers, relies on a complex international supply chain for parts and materials. It's not just American brands. Foreign automakers selling in the United States are also anticipating price adjustments. Subaru, for example, has indicated that it will also need to increase its prices to offset the costs imposed by tariffs. They haven't specified the exact percentage, but the message is clear. The cost of producing or importing cars for the US market is going up, and consumers will likely see that reflected in showroom prices. This affects not only new car buyers, but could also have a knock-on effect on the used car market. The automotive sector is a critical part of the economy, and these potential price hikes are a serious concern for both the industry and car buyers. When we think about tariffs, we often focus on big-ticket items or electronics, but the reality is that even the everyday household staples we rely on could see price increases. Procter & Gamble, the company behind a vast array of consumer brands like Tide, Pampers, and Gillette, has acknowledged that it may need to raise prices in certain product categories due to the impact of tariffs. CEO John Mueller has indicated that while they always look for ways to absorb costs, significant new tariffs on raw materials or finished goods imported into the United States could necessitate these adjustments. These are products that are fundamental to daily life for millions of households: laundry detergent, diapers, razors, toothpaste. Even a small percentage increase on these items can add up over time, putting additional strain on family budgets. Procter & Gamble, like many multinational corporations, operates a global supply chain, sourcing ingredients and manufacturing products in various locations. If the cost of bringing those goods into the American market rises substantially due to tariffs, the company faces a difficult choice: absorb the cost and reduce profitability, or pass it on to consumers. Mr. Mueller's comments suggest the latter is a distinct possibility for some of their well-known brands. For those involved in construction, home improvement, or even just DIY projects, the tools of the trade are essential. Stanley Black & Decker, a leading manufacturer of tools and hardware, has already taken steps to address rising costs, including those potentially linked to tariffs and other inflationary pressures. The company has implemented price increases in the high single digits, think 7, 8, or 9%, across many of its product lines. This is a substantial jump that directly impacts both professional tradespeople and home consumers, and it doesn't appear to be stopping there. Stanley Black & Decker has also signaled plans for another round of price increases later this year. This proactive approach suggests the company anticipates continued cost pressures, with tariffs being a significant factor in that calculation. When the cost of power tools, hand tools, and other hardware goes up, it not only affects individual purchases but can also contribute to increased costs for construction and renovation projects, potentially having a broader economic impact. The company's strategy underscores the real-world financial adjustments businesses are making in anticipation of, or in reaction to, these trade policies. The world of sports apparel and footwear, a massive global market, is also bracing for the effects of potential tariffs. Adidas, one of the leading brands in this sector, has expressed concerns about higher costs for its products sold in the United States due to the prevailing tariff uncertainties. CEO Bjorn Gulden has pointed out that the unpredictable nature of trade policy makes planning difficult, and that new tariffs would inevitably add to the cost of goods imported into the U.S. market, a significant portion of which originates from manufacturing hubs in Asia. For consumers, this could mean paying more for their favorite sneakers, athletic wear, and sports equipment. Adidas, like its competitors, relies on a global manufacturing footprint to produce its wide range of products. If the cost of importing these goods into the United States increases due to tariffs, the company will likely explore options to mitigate the impact, but passing some of that cost on to consumers is a strong possibility. Mr. Golden's comments reflect a broader anxiety within the industry about how these trade disputes could disrupt supply chains and ultimately make popular athletic products more expensive for American buyers. So, what does all of this mean for you, the American consumer? As we've seen tonight, the overarching impact of President Trump's proposed tariffs points towards a noticeable increase in consumer prices across a wide spectrum of goods. From the groceries and household staples we buy every week at places like Walmart, to the electronics from Best Buy, the toys from Mattel, the clothes from Shein and Temu, and even larger purchases like cars from Ford and Subaru, the cost of living appears poised to rise. Companies like Procter & Gamble, Stanley Black & Decker, and Adidas are all signaling that these import duties will likely translate into higher price tags. This isn't a simple issue, and the stated goals of tariffs, such as protecting domestic industries or addressing trade imbalances, are part of a larger, complex economic debate. However, the immediate and most tangible consequence for most people is likely to be felt in their wallets. The extent of these price increases will vary by product and by how much of the cost companies decide to pass on, but the warnings from retailers and manufacturers are clear and consistent. It's a situation that warrants close attention as it unfolds. We encourage you to stay informed about these developments. Understanding how trade policy can directly affect your personal finances is more important than ever. For more in-depth reporting, continued analysis, and premium content on this and other critical issues, I invite you to visit CNN.com or use the CNN mobile app. We'll continue to track this story, bringing you the facts and helping you understand the impact. Thank you for joining us.